In February 2017, Kim Jong Nam, the half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong Un, was living a life of exile, far from the power struggles of his homeland. Desperate for money, he began sharing secrets of his homeland with the CIA, unaware that each email he sent was bringing him closer to his end. One morning at Kuala Lumpur Airport, Kim Jong Nam became the target of a sinister plot. Two women, believing they were part of a prank show, approached him. They smeared what they thought was harmless oil on his face. But this was no prank, it was a death sentence. Within minutes, Kim Jong Nam was struggling to breathe, his body poisoned by a lethal nerve agent. The world watched in horror as this high-profile figure collapsed, revealing a chilling tale of betrayal and power. This was no accident. It was a calculated plot by his own half-brother Kim Jong Un. Fearing that Kim Jong Nam, who had been living in exile, could threaten his grip on power or share secrets with enemies, Kim Jong Un decided his brother had to go. The assassination was set up perfectly, using two women as innocent pawns. The stakes were clear in the deadly game of North Korean politics. There is no room for mistakes, no mercy for traitors. This is the story of how one man's quest for survival led to his ultimate downfall, exposing the dark, ruthless nature of a regime that will stop at nothing to maintain control. Kim Jong Nam was born in 1971, the eldest son of Kim Jong Il, who would later become the supreme leader of North Korea. From a young age, Kim Jong Nam was groomed to follow in his father's footsteps. He grew up in luxury, surrounded by wealth and power. He was educated in Switzerland, where he experienced life outside the strict control of North Korea. This exposure to the outside world gave him a different perspective compared to his family back home. For many years, Kim Jong Nam was seen as the likely successor to his father. However, everything changed in 2001. Kim Jong Nam was caught trying to enter Japan with a fake passport. He said he wanted to visit Tokyo Disneyland, but this incident caused a major embarrassment for the North Korean regime. His father, Kim Jong Il, was furious. In a country where leaders are seen almost as gods, this act of recklessness was unforgivable. From that point on, Kim Jong Nam was no longer considered the future leader of North Korea. His younger half-brother, Kim Jong Un, began to rise in prominence. Kim Jong Nam was effectively exiled, forced to live outside his home country. He settled in places like China, Macau, and Malaysia, living a life far removed from the power struggles of Pyongyang. But even in exile, he was not completely safe. He was constantly aware that his family might see him as a threat. Despite the distance, he maintained connections with people and organizations that could provide him some security, including foreign intelligence agencies like the CIA. He reportedly provided them with information in exchange for money, which further angered his family in North Korea. Kim Jong Un, who became the leader in 2011 after their father's death, viewed his half-brother's actions as betrayal. Kim Jong Nam's continued presence and his perceived disloyalty were seen as a direct threat to Kim Jong Un's rule. There were rumors that Kim Jong Nam might even support a government in exile that could challenge Kim Jong Un's authority. This was something Kim Jong Un could not tolerate. He had already shown his ruthless side by having his uncle, Jang Song-thaek, executed in 2013, accusing him of treason. To Kim Jong Un, eliminating Kim Jong Nam would be just another step in securing his absolute control over North Korea. The plot to kill Kim Jong Nam was carefully planned and executed. It wasn't a sudden decision. The North Korean regime had been watching him closely for years. They knew his movements, his contacts, and his weaknesses. In February 2017, they saw an opportunity to act. Kim Jong Nam was staying in Malaysia at the time. On February 13, 2017, he was at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, preparing to fly back to Macau, where he had been living. As he moved through the airport, he was unaware that his every step was being monitored by North Korean agents. These agents had devised a plan to kill him using a deadly nerve agent called VX. VX is a chemical weapon that is banned under international law because of its deadly effects. Just a tiny amount can kill a person within minutes by stopping their nerves from working. To carry out this plan, the North Korean agents recruited two women, Doan Dai Huong from Vietnam and Siti Aisyah from Indonesia. These women were tricked into believing they were part of a harmless prank show. For weeks before the assassination, they practiced smearing what they thought was baby oil on the faces of strangers, believing it was all for a prank video. The North Korean agents told them what to do, where to go, and how to act, making them think they were just participants in a funny game. On the day of the assassination, the agents gave the women bottles containing different substances. When mixed together, these substances formed the lethal VX nerve agent. The plan was simple yet deadly. The women would approach Kim Jong Nam, apply the liquids to his face, and then leave quickly. Because the women thought it was just another prank, they followed the instructions without question. As Kim Jong Nam walked through the airport, the two women approached him. Siti Aisyah came up first and smeared the liquid on his face, followed closely by Doan Thi Ai Shuang. The whole thing took only a few seconds. To the casual observer, it might have looked like a silly prank, but within minutes, the deadly VX began to take effect. Kim Jong Nam felt his eyes burn and his breathing become difficult. He stumbled to an information desk asking for help and managed to say that someone had attacked him. But it was already too late. As he was rushed to the airport clinic, the poison had already started to shut down his body. He died shortly after, within just 20 minutes of the attack. The women, Doan Thi Hoang and Siti Aisyah, washed their hands as instructed and left the airport, still believing they were part of a prank. They had no idea that they had just been used in a political assassination. It wasn't until they were arrested a few days later that they realized the true nature of their actions. During their interrogation, they repeatedly said they were innocent and had no idea what they were doing. The investigation revealed that the North Korean agents who had recruited them were highly trained operatives, skilled in deception and manipulation. They had taken advantage of the women's innocence, using them as pawns in a deadly game. The assassination of Kim Jong Nam was not just a shocking murder, it was a clear message from Kim Jong Un. He wanted to show the world and anyone who might oppose him that he was willing to go to any lengths to secure his power. Even using a weapon of mass destruction in a crowded international airport was not off limits for him. This act demonstrated the extreme measures Kim Jong Un would take to silence his enemies, even if it meant killing his own family. It was a chilling reminder of the dangerous and unpredictable nature of the North Korean regime. After the shocking assassination of Kim Jong Nam at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, the scene quickly turned into a major international incident. The Malaysian authorities immediately launched an investigation to determine how such a high-profile assassination could happen in broad daylight in a busy airport. Within days of the attack, Malaysian police reviewed the airport's CCTV footage and identified the two women involved, Doan Thi Hoang from Vietnam and Siti Aisyah from Indonesia. Both women were quickly arrested and brought in for questioning. Initially, the women appeared confused and terrified. They insisted that they were innocent, claiming they thought they were participating in a prank show for a Japanese TV program. They had no idea that the liquid they had smeared on Kim Jong Nam's face was a lethal nerve agent, VX. During their interrogation, Doan Thi Hoang and Siti Aisyah described how they were recruited by men they believed were part of a TV crew. They had been paid small amounts of money to participate in what they thought were harmless pranks, which involved smearing liquids on people's faces and then running away. This was not the first time they had done it. For weeks, they had been practicing these pranks on various strangers, completely unaware of the deadly game they were caught up in. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that this was not just a random act of violence but a meticulously planned assassination orchestrated by North Korean agents. 4 men believed to be North Korean operatives were seen on CCTV helping the two women carry out the attack. These men fled Malaysia immediately after the murder, returning to North Korea, out of reach of Malaysian law enforcement. It was discovered that one of the key figures involved in orchestrating the assassination was a North Korean diplomat stationed at the embassy in Kuala Lumpur. This diplomat, along with another North Korean, took refuge in the North Korean embassy after the assassination. Because of diplomatic immunity and the protection provided by the embassy, Malaysian authorities could not immediately arrest them. This led to a tense standoff between Malaysia and North Korea, further complicating the investigation. The assassination of Kim Jong Nam triggered a significant diplomatic crisis. Malaysia and North Korea, which had previously maintained relatively neutral relations, found themselves in a bitter dispute. Malaysia expelled the North Korean ambassador and canceled visa-free travel for North Koreans. In retaliation, North Korea barred all Malaysians from leaving the country, effectively holding them hostage. This group included embassy staff and their families, totaling 9 Malaysians who were trapped in North Korea. The situation was tense, and both countries were at a diplomatic standoff, with each side refusing to back down. The international community was quick to react. The use of a banned chemical weapon like VX in such a public setting was a blatant violation of international law. The United States, South Korea, and Japan strongly condemned the assassination, calling it an act of state-sponsored terrorism. China, North Korea's main ally, was also pulled into the controversy. Although China had been protecting Kim Jong Nam while he was in Macau, it quickly distanced itself from North Korea after the assassination. Beijing even imposed economic sanctions on Pyongyang, including halting coal imports, a significant source of income for North Korea. The trials of Doan Dai Huang and CDA Saya drew international attention. Both women were charged with murder, a crime that carried the death penalty in Malaysia. Their defense teams argued that they were innocent pawns used by North Korean operatives. They emphasized the women's lack of knowledge about the true nature of their actions and how they were manipulated into participating in the assassination without understanding the consequences. The courtroom drama unfolded over many months, with the prosecution presenting evidence of the women's actions, captured on CCTV. However, their lawyers successfully argued that the women had no motive to kill Kim Jong Nam and were clearly duped by a well-planned operation. The evidence showed that the women had been used by highly trained North Korean agents who had since fled the country. In March 2019, after significant diplomatic pressure from Indonesia and Vietnam, charges against CDA Sia were dropped, and she was released. The following month, Doan Dai Huang pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of voluntarily causing hurt by dangerous means and was also released. The legal proceedings ended without any North Korean operatives being brought to justice, leaving many questions unanswered. The international community was left wondering, why was Kim Jong Nam assassinated in such a public and risky manner? What did Kim Jong Un hope to achieve by killing his half-brother? Was this a warning to other potential defectors? Or was it a demonstration of his absolute power?